Welcome to the channel and thank you very much for tuning in on today. I want to say a special thank you to those of you who will listen to this share in advance. I want to thank you for listening to the end. All right. So once again, I want to say a special thank you to those of you who will listen to this entire share because there's going to be some important information shared, but I want to show you how it all works together. Right. So I'm going to be speaking about Ghana declaring that the COVID-19 pandemic is not over. All right, it's not over. All right, so I'm going to be sharing that. And then I'm also going to share recent news out of America concerning a new COVID Razor Blade COVID that's spreading across the nation. All right, so stay tuned. Please listen to it all because I'm going to show you how this all aligns together, along with the recent attendance of the president of Ghana to a major conference, world conference. All right. So thank you so very much for tuning in. If you are interested in these types of shares that deal with our everyday lifestyle on the continent of Africa, not just Ghana, I'll be discussing other countries as well and how your decision to move to that country, what you need to know and how it will impact your lives and how we should give ourselves options. This is my opinion based on experience, more than 20 something years experience, and how we should give ourselves options and not only ourselves, but our children options. Okay. So I'm not going to go too much into that now, but I am going to share today something very important about this declaration that the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, is not over and how that can impact your decision to move to the country of Ghana or any country. All right. I will just give a brief example and then I'll get into this. During the pandemic, all right, there was a time where Ghana was opened and then it was closed. We were still in America and then it opened again and then we came and then we were here for some time. We made some decisions about Ghana, about Accra, and then we started, making some moves to make some changes as far as locations. And then in the midst of that, I had an accident, broken ankle, and that changed some things, and that meant that we had to stay in Ghana longer, even though the gates were open for us to leave, but due to some other things we had to stay. During that time, I planned on building a mini estate, which is an estate I planned on having 12 plots, all right, paid for cash, not financed, and then middlemaning you, all right. Nothing wrong with that, but you need to be clear to the person what you are doing, all right, and I would avoid that. Okay, if you're going to sell land, you need to own that land and then sell it to the person. All right. That's another subject for another day, but it's the root of many problems on the continent. All right. People are writing themselves into your indenture and you need to know that. Okay. Stay tuned if you want to hear about this kind of stuff. All right. And so what I started to say is that our decision to go to America to take care of some business, all right, because we need to take care of some business, needed to take care of some business. There's not everything that you can do online, and it's not wise to cut yourself off. I'm just going to take my time. It's not wise to cut yourself off from your former country, particularly America, if you're from America. There's so many things that the diaspora are not aware of, okay, and how you're refusing to return to America or have anything to do with it as far as filing taxes, maintaining things that show that you have not abandoned your citizenship, how that can backfire on you. Okay, even if you never plan on returning, you need to know how totally disconnecting can backfire on you. We need to really educate ourselves and just step up our wisdom, not game, because it's not a game, our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding when we go to another country and then many people decide I'm never going back. That's your personal choice, but you need to know the repercussions of not having any connections with your former citizenship, because at the end of the day, none of these countries on the African continent has committed to any of us. If you can show me one country on this continent that has made a commitment to us, I'll gladly investigate it. I'm not going to say I'm going to move there. I'm going to investigate it and prove all things, as the scripture says, to see if what you're saying is true. All right. So as it stands right now, not one country is committed to us, not even the countries where you have made are called citizenship or has given citizenship, or to be more clear, many of you have paid for citizenship. All right. There are obligations that also come with citizenship that you need to know about. All right. And it's more than taxes. So let me get into this, because I've taken quite a bit of time. All right. But I want to share that a recent decision by Ghana officials to state that the COVID pandemic has not ended has caused a bit of a stir. All right. Now, it's caused mainly with those that it's impacting. But let me just explain. Recently, Ghana declared in a notice to the public that the University of Ghana Health Service Director sent out a notice of a COVID-19 resurgence. All right. And in that notice, he stated the health services director would like to inform the university community of a recent resurgence of the COVID-19 cases, with a few suspected and confirmed cases reported in our immediate vicinity. All right. And so then he states, all of the previous protocol that we were used to during the COVID pandemic, such as social distancing, washing your hands, avoiding gatherings, and so on and so forth. Right. But in this same notice, he also stated that this protocol is going to not only be held at the universities, but it's also going to be required at healthcare facilities. So he says the health services director has reactivated its COVID-19 response protocols, including screening and triage measures at health facilities. We are also monitoring the situation closely and will provide regular updates. Now, this was the first notice, and I'll go on to the others, all right? So not only does this impact the University of Ghana, all right, but it also impacts all healthcare facilities. So if you're going to the hospital, if you're going to the clinic, if you're going to any type of medical facility, and it could be other governmental agencies, those protocols during COVID-19 are going to be reactivated, have been reactivated. So let's say you go to the clinic for whatever reason, you stub your toe, they take your temperature, they see that, hey, you have a fever, it appears. We're going to do a COVID-19 test on you. All right. Oh, we discovered you have COVID-19. We are going to have to quarantine you. All right. So you need to be aware of the possibilities of this. Okay. If you go into any medical facility and you are tested and you're screened, and it seems as if you could possibly have a fever or anything that the triage measures determine may be symptoms of COVID, you could find yourself quarantined or following the guidelines that Ghana sets for this COVID-19 resurgence. Okay. Now, they went on from notifying us. Now, once again, they went on from notifying us to declaring that COVID is not over. The pandemic is not over. All right. So press release released on the 26th of June by the Ghana Health Services. You see 26th of June. This is the digital address that they sent out. It says press release update on cases of COVID-19 in the University of Ghana. The World Health Organization no longer classifies COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern. However, the pandemic is not over. Sporadic outbreaks, which may follow seasonal patterns, are expected to occur globally. Now, they're saying that the pandemic is not over, when in all actuality, Ghana declared in the President Akufo-Addo's 29th update on COVID that the COVID pandemic was over. He declared it along with agreeing with the World Health Organization, with the World Health Organization in May of 2023, that the COVID pandemic was over. Also, you'll see here that the World Health Organization did in May of 2023 declare that the pandemic was over. All right. But they would continue to take measures to monitor and so on and so forth. It says here, therefore, the World Organization has declared the end of the pandemic phase of COVID-19, considering the current COVID-19 situation and our preparedness, past pandemic experience, and long pandemic impact on social and economic life on May 5th, 2023. So that's when it was determined that the COVID-19 pandemic was over. All right, so how does that impact us today? How does this all tie together? All right, so recently, further updating from the University of Ghana. So they went on to announce the COVID, then they went on to announce that the pandemic is not over, and now they have gone on to cancel all social gatherings. So they first said that you could, they advised the students not to gather, but then they went on in the most recent notice to cancel restriction on social gatherings due to the resurgence of COVID-19 on University of Ghana campus. Now, so far, this appears to only impact, as far as social gatherings, the University of Ghana. But we need to know that things can change suddenly. Because like I stated earlier, if I'm not sure if I went all the way into it, when we went back to the U.S. on the second time, we had a 2-week return ticket, all right, back to Ghana. I was going to buy those 12 plots. Thank Yah that I did not. Thank Yah that I did not, for many reasons, okay? But the president of Ghana decided a couple of days after we were there that Ghana would no longer allow you into the country unless you had the COVID vaccine. All right. So we need to know that Ghana is committed to vaccination. So if you are not vaccinated against COVID, you need to know that there is a possibility with these new resurgence of COVID. And then the United States has recently, the same week, notified us of the new Razor Blade COVID. All right. And how this is spreading rapidly across the country. All right. So you need to know that in a moment things can change. In a moment things can change, and it will impact your plans. You see here recently the new Razor Blade Throat Nimbus COVID variant. All right. This is 22 hours ago. This is 7 hours ago. Why COVID Razor Blade sore throat hurts so bad. So there's this new Nimbus, as they are calling it, NB 1.8.1 COVID variant that is spreading across the country, and it's supposed to be so very painful that people describe it as if razor blades have cut your throat. All right, it sounds very, very painful. All right, but this is the new variant in the U.S., and this was announced also this week. So Ghana and America are both announcing this new, Ghana hasn't said it's the new Nimbus, but they are announcing this resurgence in COVID and the spread of COVID to the point where they have shut down all gatherings on the university because it went from just a few to now they need to shut it down altogether. And they have reactivated the protocols at medical facilities with masks, social distancing, testing if you go to a hospital, all of that stuff, right? This can change. This can spread to the general population. So the point of this year is that you need to know about it. And you also need to know that Ghana is a country that is committed to vaccines. Many of us have learned a lot about this COVID vaccine, and we, even before then, have decided that it was just not the thing for us. As recently as this week, 2 days ago, the President Mahama attended, and I'm going to let you hear a video of him speaking, so please continue to listen, all right? He attended a meeting in Brussels, all right, with you see who? Bill Gates, all right? He attended the Gavi conference, which is a global alliance of vaccines or vaccinations, which is an alliance of countries and organizations that are committed to vaccinating the entire world, all right? And so this president, you'll hear his personal reasons why he is personally committed to vaccines. It's a personal testimony about his brother. I'll let you hear that. All right. So we need to know, okay? And you need to know that just as Akufo-Addo sought to vaccinate everyone coming and going, even leaving Ghana, all right? Coming and going into Ghana, you need to know that this same thing could happen again. And you need to make a decision based on your preference and your health situation, whether this is something that you're interested in. All right. Many people compromise to get in Ghana. Many people compromise, many people lied, and many people bribe their way in and out of Ghana. That may not be a possibility for those of you who are interested in bribing your way in and out of a country. And I wouldn't suggest that at any other time, at any time. All right. But this is what the situation is on the ground. I'm going to let you hear him speak on this, and you're going to see that he is committed to this, right? And also the Alliance, the Global Alliance here, they are committed. Their theme for this conference is health and prosperity through immunization. So Ghana is fully on board. All right. You need to know that. Okay. And you need to see how that is going to impact you and your decision to move to Ghana and to live in Ghana. And also your travel arrangements can change suddenly for any of us coming in and going out of America. We need to stay abreast of all of these things. So anyway, I'm glad, as I stated, that I did not purchase those 12 plots, because it would have come down to me I actually was going to we were going to give the money to the guy, all right, and go ahead and start everything. But we said, no, wait till we get back. All right, we'll wait until we get back. And it's a good thing we didn't, because we were locked out. We could either come in with the vaccine or we were going to be locked out of the country, and we were. And we decided, you know what? We're going to another country. And we did. And we stayed there for a while. But it was not after I spent a good bit of money in the U.S. I spent a lot of money in the U.S. Now, thanks be to Yah, my son was blessed, and he made some money during the stock market, as many people did, all right, during that time. And so that helped us to recoup a lot of what we lost. But it doesn't make up for what we did lose, right? But I am so happy to lose that opportunity, because it turns out I didn't lose. Fast forward 2 years later, the Ghana courts overturned all of that land. There's much land in Ghana you guys don't know that the indentures have been overturned. It's it's impacting thousands of hectares. All right. You need to know about this stuff. People have dentures, but the land does not belong to them. It's been recently overturned in 2024. The Supreme Court of Government of Ghana overturned all of those indentures, because it was huge pieces of land from Adenta, Oyurifa, everywhere throughout Greater Accra that has been overturned due to Oyibi, due to a family dispute on which portion of the family owns the land. And I'm so glad we didn't buy that land, because it was a part of that huge tract that covers hectares. Yes, the person had the indenture in their hand. Yes, their name was on it. Yes, it was stamped and sealed. But guess what? It turned out that it was a part of this huge dispute that had been ruled over previously, right? It had been to court before, it'd been overturned before, and then sent back to the original, and then finally this final ruling overturned everything. And so people are going to soon find out, if they haven't already, that their indenture means nothing. So it worked out for our good. So the point is, guys, be informed and don't be anxious in Ghana. If you're going to be here, you need to really be informed. Educate yourself. Don't rely on just, people showing you, things that seem to be easy and smooth. You need to educate yourself, and you need to be aware of changes and how suddenly things can change, and you find yourself in a situation that you didn't bargain for, one you didn't agree on, all right? And certainly one you don't want to be a part of. All right. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, if you're a person who likes this kind of information, you want to be educated, you want to be informed, not only about Ghana, but I'm coming for other countries as well, because as long as we're going there, we need to know what's going on. And unfortunately, many of our people are not telling you the whole stories. They're not telling you things that you can encounter. They're not telling things that you have to do just to be in that country. And I will reiterate, there isn't one country, including Ghana, that is committed to us, the diaspora. So always remember that we are pilgrims, strangers, and sojourners in the earth. Be ready to move at any time. Pack light. Pack light. Thanks for tuning in. Shalom.
very much. In the interest of time, let me proceed on established protocol. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for me, the issue of vaccines is deeply personal. And that is because when I was growing up, one of my younger brothers was affected by polio. He was crippled. He lived with the stigma of his disability for many years. And eventually he was driven into depression and became an alcoholic. And he died from alcohol poisoning. I'm to look after the 2 children he left behind. And so I understand what life-saving vaccines are. The rest of us who grew up healthy and are here today were the lucky ones. And we grew up in a period where access to vaccines was close to zero in our part of Africa. Today, Gavi has changed all that and giving hope to millions of children. Across the world, many children are growing up to become responsible citizens of their communities because their lives were saved by Gavi's immunization. In Ghana, we're proud to be partners with Gavi, and I'm proud to say that in partnership with Gavi, Ghana has achieved 97% immunization coverage. But it means that another 3% is missing. And we're working hard to find those 65,000 children who are in remote areas that are difficult to reach. And I know that working with Gavi, we'll be able to find those children and also give them the life-saving vaccines. Ghana is a lower middle-income country, and so our partnership with Gavi is one of co-finance. And I'm proud to say that over the recent years, we spent almost $67 million on vaccines in partnership with Gavi. One of my first decisions as president was to uncap our national health insurance. The previous government had put a cap on the statutory fund of the national health insurance. So excess funding above a certain percentage of the budget went back into the consolidated fund. By uncapping the national health insurance, we've been able to give the insurance fund more than 3.5 billion cedis more. And so this has enabled the health insurance fund, that puts up the funding for our partnership with Gavi, to be able to front load $20 million for our co-finance partnership with Gavi this year. So on behalf of the children, I want to say thank you to Gavi. We are hoping that we'll fast track our weaning of Gavi by 2030. We're supposed to go off Gavi funding by 2030. And it's my expectation that we'll work hard to be like Indonesia and in future become a donor country to Gavi.